In this demo, we will create a podcast inside the announcements area using Chirbit. To begin, I've logged into my Chirbit account, where as you can see, I have several audio files I've already loaded into the system. You are certainly welcome to use any program or system that you like. The reason that I'm using Chirbit in this demo is because I had some phone recordings. As you may know, Canvas does not allow or nor accept AMR files, and if you're recording on your phone, that's typically the type of file format that that extension will have. In addition, if you have other software, you can put it there. You may have to convert, but inside of Chirbit, all I have to do is click upload, and if you notice, I can take MP3, AIFs, 3Gs, OGs, and AMRs, any type of file, and I'll just do one for example. Give it a title, give it an education tag. Inside of Chirbit, it doesn't matter if it's a podcast or a video. You can select an option here. I typically will leave it Chirbit because it is a Chirbit podcast. Or if you check podcast, what that will do is give it a little microphone icon. So I'm going to choose my file. There I have my recording. As you can see, that's an AMR format. Canvas will not let you upload that, and it's inside my VLC or video player. I'm going to double click. It takes it just a second. You can see that it's been uploaded, and I selected the podcast, so you can see there I have just a podcast icon as opposed to the Chirbit mic. So it is going to be usable for my course. Another thing that I can do is I can type in text, welcome to my course. And it will convert that text into an audio file, which will sound very much like a computer, but it is multimedia content that just adds a little extra to your course without being too much. So I'm sending that. And there you can see that new audio file has been created. Another option that they have, I can record directly into Chirbit, or I can actually put video with Chirbit. But I'm kind of through with that right now. What I want to do is get started on my podcast. So I'm going to go into the next tab over into the Canvas course where my announcements are. There are two ways that you can create podcasts using the announcement function in Canvas. One of those is to make an announcement and enable that announcement as a podcast, or link back using the add external feed to a podcast that you've already created. In terms of an external feed that you may have created, the Chirbit account that I created is in itself a ready-made podcast, so I can always insert that external URL and that feed will be loaded here. As well, I can take those individual file extensions and add those into an announcement to create a podcast within the course. So the first thing that I'll do is add an external feed. To add an external feed, I will need that URL from the outside or external podcast I created. So I'm going to open up my Chirbit tab. You can see here, there's my external feed as noted by the RSS icon. I'm going to copy that location. I'm going to go back to announcements, and where it says add external feed, I'm going to click now, and you can see all you have to do is Control V and paste in that location or that URL. Canvas will also give you an option to post all of the content truncated, which is somewhat like a tree, or just the links. I'm going to leave it content to post and add feed. So now I have the convenience of typing all of my updates in one place without having to come back and update my announcements every time. And to give you an idea of what that looks like, I'll click here. So there are all of my Chirbits. Students can click and it will go back and play the actual Chirbit or audio file. The next thing that we want to do is look at how we can use the individual audio files to create a podcast within the Canvas announcement also. So one of the things that you'll have at your availability or use is the URL for each one of those files, whether it is using iTunes U or Podcast Garden. All of those will have an area where you can copy the URL or get an embed code so that you can place those back in your announcement. So what I'm going to do here is copy URL. I can see that it's copied. I'm going to go back to my announcements. I'm going to make an announcement. I'm going to title this Podcast Lecture Series 2. You can title that whatever you want, but just make sure that students know this is going to be a podcast series, especially if you created a separate vodcast series earlier. So here I will just type lesson intro, Control V, paste that URL. There's something else that I want to put in. Copy the URL on that one. I'm going to go back. Lesson 1. So all you're doing is typing a title and pasting that URL. Pasting that URL over and over and over so that every time that you do, it's a continuous feed that's updated. The next thing that you need to do is make sure you enable the podcast feed. If you do this the first time, you don't have to do it every time. Save it. And so now that podcast feed has been created. So when a student goes in, and we'll use the student view quickly. The student can see that the lecture series is in fact a podcast. So you're going to click there. You can see the announcements. So each week as I add a new one, it will be added to the feed. And students can click inside, again, access that audio file without going out searching for another extension. There you have it. How to create a podcast in Canvas using audio files that you already have.